Hi, Tim from the Heresy Group. Today I want to talk about cold weather gear. A lot of these individual items can be mixed and matched in a variety of different ways to suit different situations. Now, some of the setups I'm going to show you today are going to work across, places where you guys are going to be playing, if you're playing in the UK or across Europe where it gets, mildly cold. When you start looking at Sweden and some of the guys that play out in Poland, they can be down at -10, 15 and further. And again, down at those temperatures, you're going to probably require some more specialist kit. What I've got here is a variety of different items. Now, I've put these into setups, but again, I have mixed and matched these always in combinations that you can imagine. As complete base layers, again, it depends where you are, what the weathers are, what the expected conditions can be, and then what you're planning for just in case. I have been at events where expected conditions have been perfect, almost, dry, very little wind, and we've had thunderstorms, snow, hail, heavy torrential rain, just the works. So always plan for, the worst scenario, but what I've got here is just a few expected loadouts. Now for base layers, that could be a t-shirt, it could be thermals. These are sealskin, a thermal long sleeve top, and then all the way through to your BDU. So, dependent on what you're wearing underneath this is going to depend on what you're layering on top of it. What I'll be talking about today is if you have a t-shirt on or if you are running a BDU, and then what I would layer up on top. One more key thing to mention is obviously keeping your head nice and warm. If you are sparsely, if you've got hair sort of sparsely available to you, then keeping your head warm is definitely something that you need to consider at all times. I wear one of these. This is like one of these long neck scarves. At times I have pulled it up completely over my face just to reveal my eyes, eye pro, and then add a hat over the top. And I have sort of 3 levels of hats. Here I've got the Arc'teryx beanie, just a real lightweight one. I normally wear this, even if it's fairly warm, just to protect my head. If we're in anywhere that is rural, then something like this is just going to stop your head from getting scratched by branches and twigs and whatever, and just kind of cover up your head from any sort of potential shots. This is the lightest weight beanie that I've got. Moving on then, I've got a slightly heavier beanie. This is good for dry weather actually. It's fairly heavy, but when this thing gets wet, it soaks up rain like you wouldn't believe. Whereas this is a knitted, big, heavy woolen one. You can get the Arc'teryx version of this. I haven't managed to find it, but it's a very similar design to that. It's a heavy, knitted synthetic beanie, and this really does keep your head nice and warm. If you're trying to get your head down at night and you just want to get warm, pull this on, pull your hood up, get into your bag, you will sleep like a dream. So a couple of levels of headwear is really important. Moving on then to this kind of first initial setup, and I've done this with a plate carrier. Underneath you've got the Helical Wolfhound jacket. If you do want to find out some more information about that, there is a full review back on the channel, but it's like a 60 to 80 dowel jacket. It's nice and thin, nice and light. It's got a little bit of doweling in there that's going to help keep the body nice and warm. There is some ventilation on it. It's perfect to be worn underneath a hard shell. That for me works incredibly well. If you're down at like 10 degrees, you're feeling a bit chilly and you just want to pull something over the top of your BDU, again, this jacket can work well on its own, and then you can throw your plate carrier over the top. What I've done before is worn this out on the ground. It's dry, then we're expecting a little bit of rain. I've rolled this jacket up into a little ball. This is a very light jacket. This could be screwed up and put into one of the pockets of the jacket, and it will be a ball the size of sort of 2 fists. You can take that out with you in the pocket, bit of rain starts coming in, throw this jacket over the top. I've been out in heavy rain, snow, sleet, hail, and had this jacket on over the top, and it has not begun to soak up water. The only time that it did begin to have a lot of water sitting on the material was in torrential rain, and that was over where the plate carrier was. And I presume that the plate carrier was just sat with that water underneath the shoulder straps, and sort of almost massaging the material and the water into the material. Other than that, has kept me incredibly dry. So that's one mixture that you can have, obviously the lightweight dowel jacket and then this over the top. That layering is going to help keep you warm, and obviously in really wet conditions, this is going to stop that water from sort of soaking in. But obviously, this is not a heavyweight jacket, this is lightweight. So when you start getting down to the 0 degrees, -5 sort of conditions, I would definitely opt for something much heavier, either underneath or a much larger jacket in itself. One thing just to sort of remember on the compression of these jackets, that doweling in the jacket holds the heat. So when you put your plate carrier over the top, give it a little bit of room, maybe a little bit more than you would normally. That's just to stop the jacket from being completely compressed against the body. You want that kind of puffiness to the jacket. If I ever have this thing stored in a little bag or a pocket, I get it out and I just give it a real good sort of scrunching just to give some depth to those fibres, and that will really help, you know, with the heat. So this is a kind of plate carrier setup. What I also show you is a chest rig setup as well that I have used in cold weather conditions. Again, all of this stuff can be mixed and matched. So what I'll do is I'll swap this out for the other setup. So guys, here we've got a slightly heavier setup. I've only really used this jacket in this combination where the weather's been really, really cold. Having a thermal top on, having a BDU on, and then another 2 layers on top will keep you heavily insulated, and the last thing you want to do is overheat. I think that's something that I've also suffered with before, is throwing all these layers on during the day and just heating up way too much. You begin to sweat, take those layers off, and then throughout the day you're kind of doing this chasing game of regulating your temperature. Sometimes it is to stay a little bit on the frosty side, not to a degree where you're going to do any damage, but definitely be, you know, cooler when you're still, so that when you are moving and you are getting a bit of a lick on, that you're not going to then instantly start sweating and overheating, because that's not good for the body. But what I've got here is kind of a real cold setup. So what I'd normally do is have my BDU on, that I could potentially have a thermal underneath that or a t-shirt underneath that. Over the top here I've got the RHO Arc'teryx Leaf zip up top. Very warm, had it a long time now. It's beginning to sort of bobble and stuff on the inside, as you can see there from the material, but it is nice and warm. It's kind of fleece lined, it's got a sort of windproof texture to the outside. Over the top of that here then, I've got the helikon-tex level 7. One of the just most impressive bits of kit that I've had. I've worn this in all sorts of conditions. I've had a t-shirt on and just had this over the top and been incredibly warm. Windproof, rainproof, snowproof, whatever. It's got a nice big warm hood built in as well, which is another really nice factor in this jacket. It can be tucked away if you're running your lids with comms or whatever, but if you are stood out on stag or anything like that, this isn't a thin hood. This is a doweled, nice heavy hood. Nice warm arms, you know, good adjustment on the cuffs. There's a full review of this jacket back on the channel, but this is, for me, just, I love putting this jacket on. If it's really getting cold, I've been stood in a sanger a few times before, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, it's beginning to get a little bit nippy, and that and a coffee, whack this jacket on, are normally golden. Now, as you can see, this setup here is with a chest rig and not a plate carrier. Now, the reason that I would advise a chest rig with this jacket is because, once again, you're relying on the doweling in the jacket. That thick, puffy, you know, the doweling that's in this is nice and thick, and that's what gives you your warmth. So the last thing I want to do with this jacket is put this jacket on and then compress that front and back and have kind of cold patches on the body, especially around the core. Now again, you can just loosen the plate carrier off a little bit and it is going to help, but for me, if I am running, you know, real cold weather stuff, for me, I do like running a chest rig. Also a little bit more manoeuvrable. When you've got all these layers on, sometimes you do feel a little bit like the Michelin Man, so by having a plate carrier on, you can invertedly say that that is going to give you a little bit more flexibility with movement that you are going to get taken away from having all the layers on. Again, I have mixed this up a little bit. When I've been really cold, we actually stayed out on the ground at the trees with Sterling Airsoft, and the weather got real cold throughout the night. I think I had the sealskins on, I had a t-shirt on, and then I had the Wolfhound from Helical that you just saw, and then this over the top, and I was snug. I got a real good night's sleep that night. So, you know, again, you can mix this stuff up. One more thing that I would like to mention is gloves and socks. I'm, you know, always have been a huge advocate of having a good few pairs of socks, and decent brand socks as well. I use thin chalet, I've used sealskins. I also found that sealskins made my feet sweat far too much. So I've got these now. These are the Salomon Socks. I actually picked like 4 pairs of these up for 20 quid on offer online, but they are very good socks. They're not waterproof like sealskins or anything like that, but these do keep your feet nice and warm, and they're not so thick that your feet sweat like crazy. So if you're after a decent sock, I do recommend the Salomons. And then for a good level of gloves, if you are using any equipment when it's wet, damp, cold, please make sure that you've got decent level of gloves. These are the Iron Fists by Outdoor Research. This is a brand new pair that I've got. My last pair are a bit battered, but as you can see, they've got rubber palms, and these palms are really, really grippy. And that's one thing that is good to have when your hands are wet, or if you are in the snow, in the cold, anything like that. Having gloves with a good level of grip on. So that pretty much wraps up this kind of cold weather kit. Haven't really spoke about the legs all that much, purely because I use a set of combat trousers from Clawgear, the Raider Mark 4s, and I use a set of sealskin thermal trousers. Other than that, I don't ever use anything else. I don't normally look after my legs as well as I should. The upper body is normally where my focus more is. If it's getting really cold, I'll put the sealskin thermals on. If not, I'm normally just in a set of boxer shorts or pants, and then some combat trousers. It's really more the upper body that I do look after. So if you do have any questions about that, I really want to hear your feedback on this. If you are in countries outside of the UK, please put a comment in the box below. Let me know what you use, what your leveling is, what your methodology is. Also, packing all of this kit, really interested in how you take this out on the ground with you, whether you run it in a big Bergen, whether you have a stash box or something back at camp, and if you're getting really cold, you'll bounce back there. Please let me know what your attack is on the cold weather equipment and playing in the colder temperatures. Hopefully some of you guys have found this educational, informative. Again, comments, feedback in the comments box below. If you do like this video, please whack a like on this. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you do feel that this video would benefit some other users, please make sure you share it on your Airsoft groups and Facebook pages, that sort of thing. Coming into the cold part of the year is always exciting for me, so really looking forward to getting out there and playing some games. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all soon.